Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the fundamentals of mixing. Please mute your microphones. I'm trying to go through all of them to mute, but it's hard for me to keep track. So if you can just mute them or keep them muted, that would be amazing. So if you have any questions, please type them in the chat. I'm Sabrina. I'm a singer-songwriter and producer, produced by Lax. He's a mix engineer, music producer, and artist. Today we're going to be talking about mix prep, gain stage, track stacks, starting the mix, EQ, compression, dynamic processing, group process, and panning. So when you're starting your mix prep, make sure that you're recording at 44.1 or 48 kilohertz and 24-bit, 32-bit. Don't get too close to the mic. You don't want there to be like a weird popping sound like that, and either treat the room or treat the mic. Do your best to get a clean audio. Get organized. Name and color code your tracks. If you're using Logic, you can do Shift Option plus N to name tracks and Option C to color code tracks. Commit to audio as soon as you can. Sorry, there's a typo. This will help you run your DAW smoothly by saving CPU. It also saves all the information like plugins, and it just helps you commit to your creations. All right, let's keep going. So mono is a single audio channel. Stereo sends two signals on for each speaker. So everything else can remain in, so basically lead vocal, kick, snare, and bass should be in mono. Everything else can remain stereo and pan to taste. Gain staging is making sure the audio is set to an optimal level to minimize noise and distortion. You can find gain in your utility folder and inserted all the channels that you need. So this is kind of like a good rule of thumb to where you want to hit. And dynamic processing. Dynamic processing is the process of enhancing the dynamic content of a signal through the use of EQ and compression. Compressors are used to reduce dynamic range, to shorten the span between the loudest and the softest notes. This is not really necessarily about volume, but about the wave lengths. EQ, the process of changing the balance of different frequencies. You can think of this as sculpting, and you have a block, and then you're going to enhance or unenhance different areas of the face or the body or whatever you're creating. And you leave room for each instrument to shine. Reverb is the persistence of sound after a sound is produced. It sends sound waves in different directions. Delay records an input signal and then plays it back after a period of time. You decide what the period of time is. And so when we're starting the mix, we're going to talk about fundamentals, bass, kick, snare, and vocal. This is your fundamentals for the track. You get these elements sitting right, the rest will follow. Build your chains. You can start with EQ and compression, move on to the effects afterwards. Putting reverb and delay on to sweeten the sound will actually hurt you in the long run, because you are unable to judge the processing needing based on the actual signal. Panning and automation, pan as you go, automate last, as automation will be affected by your compression signal in the long run. And sends, using reverb and delay as sends rather than inserting to save CPU. Additionally, use the same reverbs and delays across the board to achieve a cohesive blend throughout the song. So you don't want to have a bunch of different stuff going on, just like a website only has like 6 or 7 colors. This could be the same with your track. And then final notes. Always leave a little bit of headroom and export or whatever stamp rate your project is in, 24-bit. Okay, without further ado, we're going to
Let's start
into the DAW.
All right, I'll just share the screen real quick. So is everyone, I hope everyone is able to see the Logic screen right now.
Yes.
So as Sides mentioned in the presentation, the first thing that even before mixing, what we want to do is we want to have the session optimized for mixing so that we are good to go. We are not fooling around with finding stuff here and there. And there's a quick rule that I follow, and you all can also follow that. Is the first thing is color coding the session the right way, which is I use a specific color coding model that I've been taught where I did my audio engineering for, and you can see. You can see that all of my drums are in red, and
Everybody, please make sure you mute. Okay. Thank you. Sorry about that. Oh, you're muted now.
hello, am I audible? Yeah. So as you all can see, all of the drum elements and all of the rhythm elements are on the top, and they are color coded in red. After that, we move on to the bass, and the bass is color coded in pink. Then we go to the keys and the pads, which are in blue but different variations of blue. So basically, the keys are dark blue, and this is light blue. Then we move on to the guitars, which are green. Risers are again like blue, some shade of blue, and then we come to the vocals would be orange, and all the harmonies would be orange. So this is what I follow, but you all can make your own color coding palette and just stick to it so that you know where all the elements are. And apart from color coding, if you can see, the elements are also arranged in a very particular manner. So the first thing is the drums are in red, and it starts with drum. Hold up, I'm just gonna do a quick. So this is from my book, and you can just take a snapshot of this. So it starts with drums, kick, snare, hi-hat, open hat, percussions. Then it goes on to bass, 808 synth bass, then pianos, guitars, synths, risers, and in the end, it's vocals. So you all can take a screenshot and use it for your future. So yeah, once we got the session arranged, we also want to make sure that all the clips are, there are not like these long clips. You're gonna arrange your session properly and make sure that all the clips are, perfect. Like there's no empty spaces, because sometimes what happens is there's a lot of noise in these empty parts, and once you play all the empty parts, it's gonna add up. So you're gonna keep track of the you want to keep track of the empty spaces and clean them out as well. Yeah. So once you've got the session arranged, we can come to the mixing bit. And for that, I also have one more diagram which you can see, and it's going to be very beneficial for all of you. This is called the visual model 3D mixing. So you can think of a mix in 3 dimensions, which will be X, Y, and Z axis. So this X axis would be the panning. So there's a stereo field. You can pan elements from left to right with this X axis. Then there's this Y axis, which is frequency. So if you guys have noticed, all the high frequencies almost sound like they're coming from, they're coming from top. They're like somewhere on top, and the low frequencies always sound that they're coming from bottom. So this is also a great analogy for that. And for the Z axis, you can think of it as volume. So if we increase the volume, it makes the sound upfront. And if we decrease the volume, it will push the volume back. So this is the visual model which will help you to guide your mix even before starting it. So you can gauge and you can place your elements in this 3D sort of 3D space. So yeah, I hope everyone got this correct, because this is very important for you to like keep in mind that it's like a 3D space for your mixing. So once we have done that, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to gain stage, and everyone makes gain staging very confusing. People confuse a lot about what is gain staging and how do we gain stage. So let me clear all the confusion and just give you a very quick hack so that you can gain stage your mix very easily. You first of all, you'll play the tracks, and I'm going to play the track. Everyone just see if the volume is loud enough. You can just change it in your system.
Get out of my head, get into my bed. Let's finish what we started.
Everyone is getting the sound, right? So yeah. So I just played the song, and first thing the first thing that I noticed is that it's very loud. It's like almost touching minus 0.1 dB on the master, which is not a good thing. Especially because, first of all, we are in the mixing stage. We are not yet in the mastering stage. And these levels should be somewhat acceptable in the mastering stage, but not in the mixing stage. So we need to have around at minimum of 6 dB headroom in the master, with all the song, with all the elements playing, and also at the loudest part of the song. So I specifically played this part of the song because it's the final chorus. So usually the final chorus is the most layered and most you know uh, there is someone I think drawing on the screen or something like that. Yeah. So yeah. So this is the loudest part of the song, and if we play it, you all can hear that this is the loudest part of the song. So what we gotta do to gain stage is, I'm sure everyone, whatever DAW you use, there's a feature called clip gaining. So you can select all the clips, and you can just turn down the gain of all the tracks without changing their individual relationship, without changing their individual balance. So if I do -6 or -7 dBs here, all of these clips would be turned down by -7. So their individual balance is not changing, but their overall gain is going down, right? So I just did -7.6. Let's listen where it's speaking right now. So we can see we are getting some headroom. We are at -3.5, but again, this is still not enough. So I would want to even further reduce the gain of all these tracks until we reach like -6, -7, somewhere around that. Yeah, so this is nice. We are peaking at -6.4 on the master, and essentially that's it. That's how I gain stage, and I also check that individually no track is clipping, which you can also see in the mixer. There is no clipping. There's no clipping, no red lines, no peaks. So that's it. What a lot of people do is they use gain staging plugins, like they use a utility plugin called Gain, and they individually turn down they put this plugin on all the channels and reduce the gain by the same amount. But essentially, if you notice, that's what we have done. We've selected all the clips and reduced the gain. So what I've done is I've done it without the plugin. So you can also look for this feature, whatever DAW you're using. I'm sure there is this feature called clip gaining. So you can utilize this feature, and it will make your life very easy. It will get your song gain staged in like seconds and minutes. So after we have done the gain staging part, now we've got a good headroom going on. There's no clipping or there's no peaking going on. Now we can go to the second step of mixing, which would be the balancing and the static mixing. So what do I mean by static mixes? We're gonna only mix the song with the faders. So we're not gonna apply any sort of processing, any EQ, any compression, anything. We're just gonna mix the song and balance the song with the use of the faders, and that's what we call the static mix. So let's start with that. And again, for this part also, I'm using the loudest section of the song, because usually the loudest section is where all the elements are playing, and this is the like you can utilize this section for gain staging for balancing your song. So let's start with balancing. Now, how I start my balances, I'll select one instrument which is very important, and that is, for my case, it's the kick, because kick, snare, and hi hat usually are very important in any song. Usually, most songs they're very important. So I'll balance my mix according like around this one instrument. So first of all, I'm gonna solo the kick. I'm gonna listen to the kick how it's sounding. It's peaking at -13.4, which is fine, but I want to give it a little more push. In fact, you know what I'll do? I'll just push it from the clip gaining stage only. there's this one more thing which I want to clear, and this clip gaining thing is why it is so important is because of the fader resolution. So there's this term called fader resolution. The more you are near 0 dB, the more you have got the fader resolution. The fader resolution is more there when you are near 0 dB. So right now I'm near 0 dB. I can go in the increments of minus 0.1, minus 0.7, minus 0.8. Like minus 0.1, I can also fix that. Like if I want to change, I can make precise changes. But when I'm here, you can see I just moved this and it's from 11 dB, it's already minus 12.6. So I can do this. If I want to give like 4 dBs of gain, I can do this. But again, that's gonna mess up my fader resolution. So instead of doing that, I'll just push the gain from the clip gaining, and I'll just give it a little more gain from here so that my fader still stays there. But again, it's the gain of the kick is increasing. So it's going minus 10, which is good enough for me right now. And I'm gonna leave it at that. Maybe like give it some more gain. Yeah, minus 9, somewhere like that. Now this is where I leave it. Now we are gonna balance the other instruments around this instrument. All right. So let's just move on to the second kick. Sides have used 2 kicks, so let's just balance this kick as well. Okay, this is more like a chest kick sort of thing. All right, now we'll move on to the snare. Snare I also want to increase, but I want to increase it using the clip gain. Now we'll go to the snaps. Now we'll go to the rim shot. This too loud. So right now you just gotta let your ears be the judge, and just trust your ears at this point, because it's very important to know what sounds right and what sounds wrong. So this open hat is very loud. I'm gonna reduce it. There's a lot of EQ things that we'll do in the later stages as well. We'll do the cleaning up. Okay, and there's one more open hat. Okay, I'm gonna bump it up a little. Okay. Nice. So this we have done. We've created a balance of the drums. We are gonna do it with more instruments now. Let's go on. Let's move on to the bass. There's one more bass which comes. It's not playing right now. We'll balance it later on. It's a thumb bass, I think. I think this one is the thumb bass, third bass. Yeah. So if you can hear these two basses are clashing right now, but again, this is the static mix point. So we are not gonna think about that. This is gonna do the best what we can do with the faders. All right. So we are not gonna think about it. They're clashing right now. Let's just put the EQ and start fixing that. There needs to be a specific process that you follow, and if you don't follow the process, then you'll just get lost in the mix. So right now is the static mix. We are only gonna touch the faders. Let's move ahead to the keys. The second keys also is not playing. We'll balance it later on. Let's go to the chorus pad. And you will notice that once you open more instruments, you will find that okay, I need to go back. Like I just noticed that the bass was somewhere overpowering it. So you can always go back and make changes accordingly. Because as you open more instruments, the more they will react with each other, and the more you will start to notice things that are off or that are going on. Okay, let's go to the. This is also not playing right now. The guitar is also not playing. Let's go to the vocals.
Get out of my head, get into my bed. Let's finish what we
Again, I can do like if I because the vocals are very low right now, I can do like this. I can do 6 dB of gain from the fader, but I'm not gonna do this. I'm just gonna select this clip and I'm just gonna do the clip gaining and I'm just gonna give it a little more gain from here.
get out of my head, get into my bed. Let's
So that I have like my fader is at 0. I can do minor adjustments later on.
get out of my head, get into my bed. Let's finish what we started. You got nothing to lose.
Now we come to the harmony stack. Sides has done a lot of harmonies and a lot of doubles. So we're gonna also balance them accordingly with the song. So let's just go.
Get out of my head, get into my bed. Let's finish what we
But the thing with this is we are not gonna. So the thing with doubles is she's done double tracking. So we gotta pan one left and one right. So we can't change the level individually because if we make the right one heavy, then the right side would have more signal. So in terms of double tracking, both the signal need to be on the same volume. That's why I'm not gonna do anything to these. We're just gonna pan them and see how it goes. But right now we're not gonna pan them as well because we're not at the stage. Panning comes after this. So we'll jump to panning after this.
get out of my head, get into my bed. Let's finish what we started.
All right.
Got nothing to lose. You're skipping
So this is like right now we have done a very basic static mix. If you can hear,
get out of my head, get
it's very basic, but it's again it needs to be in the right direction for sure. Otherwise, things would be messy later on.
get out of my head, get into my bed. Let's finish what we started.
Right. So now once we've done the static mix, now we'll come to the panning and we'll start playing with the stereo field and we'll start placing things in their space. So what do I mean by that? Let's give you an example. The first thing that I would want to pan is I think the hats, which are now I'm gonna unsolo all of these tracks and let's go to the hats. Not these closed hats. So I really like to give some movement to my hats, and one very good way of giving movement is by using auto panning. And in Logic, there's I don't know if a lot of people know this or not, but the tremolo plugin, stock tremolo plugin in Logic can work as an auto panner. And what you can do if you're getting the thing, you can already hear that it's doing left, right, left, right, left, right. But what I want to do is I don't certainly need to go all in and do the depth 100%. We can play with the depth and we can actually solo the drums. Yeah, so now you can see that the hats are doing nice. Left, right, left, right. We can also change the rate. So by rate, you will get a different sort of movement. 1/2, it's like it's taking half bar to pan the thing left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. This also sounds interesting, but for this, I think 1/4 sounds interesting. And the depth, I don't want to be like all like left, right. That'll be like too much for this song. We can do like 62%. The thing with smoothing is smoothing makes your auto panning go left to right in a very smooth manner. So what do I mean by that? If I let's say for example, let's do it 1/8 and let's not smooth it all, or let's do 1/4 only. You can listen that it's going very like left, right, very hard. And if you smooth it, actually 1/2 would be a better example for this. Yeah. Yeah. So now you can see that I put the data at 1/1. If the smoothing is 100%, it's like very smooth. If it's going to the left, then going to the right, you can feel it going in the center. But if the smoothing is 0, left, right. So it's not smooth at all. Some for some cases that might work, but in our case, we will do it with the smoothing, and I'll just put it back at 1/4 where it was. So yeah. This is what I've done. This is the auto panning thing that I've done. But in case of open hats, I'm gonna do it with the pan knob. Usually, I pan my open hats to the left because whenever like a drummer, if I'm thinking of it as a drummer's perspective. So drummers usually have their hats on the left and their open hats come from the left. So I'll put my open hat slightly on the left, not all the way. There's one more open hat. This one I'm gonna do it to the right, just to give it some more flavor. So that we are occupying different stages of the different, like, different spectrum in the stereo space. What we can also do is we can also rim shots. So what I've done is the snare is obviously will be in the center. I would not advise you to pan your snare left, right, but you can experiment with it, obviously. But what I've done is I've panned the snap slightly to the left and the rim shot slightly to the right. So again, it sounds like a wide snare instead of everything coming from the center. The kicks obviously would be in the center only. We will not ban the kicks because first of all, it's a very low frequency thing. So generally, it's not advised to pan low frequency elements because they will create like phase. They'll mess up your phase of the mix. So it's a very good rule that you should follow. Again, there are some exceptions to this rule, especially in trap and 808. When we do 808s and when when we process the 808s, we can make some amount, we can use some doublers and some wideners to give them a little more space. But in this case, like kick especially, we're not gonna pan them and we're not gonna play with the panning. So after panning, you can see that people like the elements are kind of sitting in their space, and we have not done anything right now. We've not EQ'd, we've not done anything, just pure balancing and some panning. Let's just open the bass. Not gonna pan the bass again. It's a low frequency instrument. We're not gonna play with the panning. The keys I can hear is whatever sides have whatever VST she has used. It's already giving it a stereo kind of feel. So I'm not gonna pan it. Same with the chorus pad. I'm not gonna touch it because again it's also stereo. I'm sure you all can hear it. It's occupying a stereo space. It's not mono. There's some amount of width to the
I don't
pad.
think they can hear the panning because when you share the screen and you click share sound, you have to like right click it and say
Oh
stereo.
no, I think I did that. Are you sure no one is hearing the
You guys can
panning?
hear. Oh, you guys can hear it. Okay, good. Then never mind. Everyone
Yeah,
else can hear
yeah.
it. Okay.
All right, cool. Yeah. So with the verse pad, this is also occupying some sort of stereo space. So we're not gonna touch it. Now lead vocals, obviously we are not gonna pan. They're gonna be in the center. So the highlight, all the highlights of this song and most of the songs, vocals, kicks, snare, these would be in the center. So everyone, please check your mic. Someone's mic is bleeding. And now we're gonna go to the chorus harmonies. This is where we're gonna pan them hard left and hard right. So let's just solo these two. And
Ooh, get out of my head, get into my bed. Let's finish
so this
what
is what I mean by double tracking. Previously
Ooh, get out of my
they're just coming from this from center. Now I did one left and one right,
Ooh, get out of my head,
and it sounds so
get
much
into my
wider.
bed.
And
Let's
once you play it
finish
with the
what we
lead vocals,
started. You got
it's
nothing
giving
to
it
lose. Your skin feels
such a
so
nice
smooth.
ring to
Let's
it, and
finish what
such a
we
nice space that it's occupying.
started.
And we've just opened two harmonies. Now let's open more harmonies. What is these H2 and H2R?
Ooh, get
Okay.
out of my head.
So all
All
of these things come under the vocal production. She's done a very good job. She's taken different harmonies, and she's done higher harmonies, then sort of in the middle harmonies, and I'm sure lower harmonies as well.
Ooh,
So this one is
get
in the
out of
middle
my
register.
head. Get into my bed.
What we can do is we can again do it full left and full right, hard left and hard right.
Ooh, get out of my head. Get
This also
into
sounds fine, but sometimes what I want to do is, since they're not high and they're sort of in the middle register, again following the concept of the higher the things, the more we can play with the panning. The lower the things in terms of frequency, the lesser we should play with the panning. So I'm gonna, instead of doing all the way up, I'm just gonna leave it at 30, minus 30 and plus 30. So let's just listen with this.
Ooh, get out of my head. Get into
So it's like two voices are coming from here, then two voices are coming from here, and let's just open this one as well. First, let's hear this one, what it's doing.
Ooh, get out of
Yeah.
my head. Get into
So this is like the lower. So what I'm gonna do is, instead of 30, maybe I'm just gonna do it minus 15. And this is following the same concept. The higher the things, the higher the things in frequency, the more you can play with the panning, and the lower they are, the more restricted you can be when you come to the panning.
Ooh, get out of my head. Get into my bed. Let's finish what we started.
So now you can see it's already sounding so full. It's occupying almost all the spaces in our frequencies. Previously, they were just coming from the middle, and right now they're occupying their own space. Mixing is more about, I think it's all about giving instruments and giving elements their own space, so they can sit there and they can just do what they were supposed to do. That's all. I think that is mixing in essence. So let's play the lead vocals with the harmonies.
Ooh, get out of my head. Get into my bed.
Also, you all can notice that I've grouped these harmonies in a stack. So this is called a group bus, and you can just do Command Shift G. That's the shortcut, and you can bus anything. So, for example, if I want to bus all the basses, I can do Command Shift and D, and then there are two options: folder stack and summing stack. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do summing stack, because in terms of, for example, in terms of if I do folder stack, you want to see that it's just a folder. You can't apply any processing to this group, so we don't want that. We would want to also do bus processing on it. So I'm gonna do the no, yeah, so I'm gonna do the summing stack, and all of these bases we can name this base bus, and now all of these bases are inside this base, and we can also process the bus individually. So this is what this is exactly the case in terms of vocals. So what I'm going to do is, instead of individually, because I like the balance where the harmonies are as is, so I'm going to balance it to the vocals, because I think the harmonies are coming in a bit too strong right now.
Ooh, get out of my head. Get into my bed. Let's finish what we started. You got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Your skin feels so smooth.
So after all this, we have done we have done panning and also the balancing and the static mix. Let's just listen where the mix is at right now.
Ooh, get out of my head. Get into my bed. Let's finish.
Again, now see, the thing is, you always have to listen to it in terms of the mix. So I was just listening to the vocals and the harmony stack,
Ooh,
and I thought that the harmonies were loud. But then when I just played it, I instantly knew that when everything is playing, the harmonies are getting buried. So we gotta bump them up. So let's just bump them up a bit.
ooh, get out of my head, get into my bed. Let's finish what we started. You got nothing to lose. Your skip is so smooth.
So this is where we are at. Now we are done with the static mixing and the panning. And this is a good I think we've got a good
Get out of my head, get into my bed.
listenable amount of, like, we are getting there. So now what we're going to do is we can, as all like all of you can hear, there's a lot of fighting going on, a lot of elements are fighting for their own space. And as I just said, mixing is all about putting elements in their own space, in their respective space, so they can just be, and they can do what they were supposed to do. So there are certain tools that we use to do that. The first tool that we are going to cover, and uh, you all should also start with, that is called equalization. And equalization is removing or adding uh, energy out of their frequency spectrum. So what do I mean by that? Let's start with kick. We're always going to start from top to bottom, just like we did in with the whole mix. From top to bottom we're going to do, and we're going to EQ it. And let's just load up an EQ. Sides, I have a quick question. Are we gonna use third-party plugins in this, or you want me to stick to the stock plugins? Because
You
we can do a mix. We can do a
Yeah.
mix of stock plugins and third-party plugins, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So let's just use the stock EQ for now. I'm sure a lot of you must be having FabFilter Pro Q3. We'll be using that as well in future. But let's just stick to the stock EQ and play it. So I can hear that there's a lot of, first of all, there's this trick, and there's this logic trick that you can use in the stock EQ. Right now, I can't see all these frequencies here, but if you can do this resolution, you can see all of the frequencies that are present here as well. So you can just do this, and you'll see what all frequencies are playing. So I'm hearing a lot of this 200, 300, and this is where mud lies. And we don't want our mixes to be muddy. Everyone has heard this, that cut the mud. Mud is for the weak and all of that. So we're gonna cut the mud. And just by doing this little cut, I'm not sure if you all can hear it, but the kick has become much more tighter just with this one. With just this one EQ, like EQ cut, the kick has become tighter. And what we can do is we can also maybe boost some of the top bright and frequencies. So this is where the beater is, in case of a rock kick or a kick drum. This is where the beater sounds, like the beater hits the sheet of that kick, and this is where that thing lies. So we're gonna increase that a bit. And yeah, I'm not gonna touch the bass because I think the bass is enough. And let's just AB it real quick. This is before and this is after. It might sound like a bit lower in volume because we have obviously removed energy, a significant amount of energy from this space, but we have also added energy, but this high energy is not compensating enough. So I'm gonna boost it in level a bit. This term is called, this is also called level compensation. But yeah, So we have done this thing. We've made the kick EQ. We've EQ'd the kick right now. Nothing too complex and nothing too very flashy. Just two simple, one simple cut and one simple boost. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the second kick, and this is where we're gonna do some things primarily known as frequency slotting. As both of these are sort of in the same space, we have to make them separate, like. So now let me listen to this in solo. There's a lot of sub in this, and yeah, there's a lot of sub and a lot of mud sort of thing, very chest kick sort of thing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna probably dip down some bass so that there is space for the kick one to breathe. So now we can also hear the, apart from this, so we have reduced the sub frequencies. And I'm gonna boost this one, and yeah, I think this is creating enough separation between two of or both the kicks, right? So moving on, let's go to the snare. Let's see if what snare needs and what it is lacking. Let's use Pro Q for this. So again, you all can also follow this thing. Remove the things that are not needed in the instrument. So as you all know, snare, we don't need like all these 90 hertz and all these, like, rumble and bass. So we can remove that. What we can do is again play it with the kick. The reason why I love Fab Filter Pro Q3 in particular is because it's a very good tool, and it's there's this one reason, which is soloing the band, and you can listen to. I'm sure you can also do it in Pro Tools Stock EQ and a lot of other EQs, but I just love Fab Filter Pro Q3 so much. So I'm just looking for some resonances, some harshness. And this is called surgical EQing. A lot of people, what they teach is they want you to do this, and they want you to search for it, which is also fine. You can do that. But the thing is, it's better if you don't boost it that much and you just let it be, and try to listen where the harshness or where the resonance is coming from. Because the more you train your ears, the less you need to do this and listen to things. So to make things clear, and to also give you an example, I was finding this particular frequency somewhat annoying, so I would like to cut that. And there's one more reason why I love FabFilter Pro Q3 is because you can use it as a multi-band compressor as well. But in this case, I would call it dynamic EQ. Not to confuse things, just uh, keep that in mind whenever you're using compression inside a EQ plugin, multi-band compression inside a EQ plugin. It's called dynamic EQing. And whenever you're using a separate plugin, for example, if I've been using FabFilter Pro MB, which is a multi-band compressor, that would be a multi-band compressor. So this is called dynamic EQing, and I'm using this band specifically, and it's acting like basically a smart EQ right now. It's not cutting. This thing is different from doing this. Let me tell you. This thing is taking the energy all the time, but this thing is only cutting when it goes above the threshold. So a lot of times I like to use dynamic EQing, just because it gives some sort of musicality to the cut, and it's not as static as it is with the static cuts. So I'm just gonna cut it down a bit, and also probably gonna boost some of the highs. Yeah. So I gave it some brightness because I think it needs some amount of brightness. And let's go to the snap rim shot. Uh, Guys, you don't first of all, if the thing is, if you're using right samples and if you're using right things, most of the times you don't even need to EQ them and do a lot of these things. That's why production and mixing is so goes hand in hand so much. If you're using good samples, if you're using good sounds, and if you know what you want and you're using that, you don't need to change it in the mixing stage. So just keep that in mind and start selecting good sounds rather than using sounds and then modifying them to where you want to go. Just select good sounds and you're good to go. You won't even need to EQ and do a lot of these things. So with that said, let's just go to the snap. I think I like it, but I don't like it the brightness. I'm just gonna reduce some amount of brightness. And I think there's also this some reverb on this, which is fine. So this is why I love this EQ because earlier you could not even see all these energies, but right now there is so much of rumble inside which we don't need. So I'm gonna cut the rumble and probably gonna boost some highs. Again the same. See all of these frequencies we don't need, so I'm just gonna remove them. I think the hi-hat sound good. They don't need anything special. Yeah. This open hat, as soon as I heard it for the first time, also I was getting a lot of low and rumble and low frequencies and mid frequencies. So I'm gonna clear that out. Yeah, we don't need all of these low and like these frequencies, these frequencies, these frequencies. You don't need them. So this is also good to go now. And the open hat 2 sounds perfect. So nice. So we did individually EQ all the things, but there is also one thing which I like to do, and we can do it at this stage. We can also do EQing on the bus as a whole. So let's use FabFilter Pro Q3 for this, and for this, let's just use one of my preset. It's from my preset pack, which is equals preset pack. Shameless plug, guys. You can check it out if you want. And I'm just gonna go to the drums and use the drum bus tightener thing. Let's just do a quick AB without this preset. And now I'm gonna turn it on. So as you can hear that it's become much more tighter. What's happening right now is I'm boosting some subs again, removing some muds, removing some frequencies. Let's just listen. What is this? Some amount of resonances, boosting some presence, and also giving it some bright boost. So yeah, this is what so we have EQ'd the bus. Let's just go to the bass now and move ahead.
My bed.
Again, the main thing is we got to do is we got to balance both of these basses because they sure are fighting right now. What I would want to do is what I like to do is this bass 3 is doing the slap thing, but with that slap thing there's a lot of rumble and there's a lot of low frequencies also bleeding, which are particularly not needed because the low part of the bass is being handled by these static notes. Dum, dum, dum. So this frequency, that space is being handled by this bass. So what I will do is I necessarily don't need all that low end from this bass. So I'll just remove it and just keep the slaps like right. Makes sense, right? And now if we play them, there is very less like now they're not fighting as much as they were fighting if it was this. Like you can hear, I'm sure you all can hear that, right? So just with a single EQ cut, we have given both of these basses their own space so that they're not fighting and they're just doing what they're supposed to do. I just still would want to control this bass a bit because it's just some notes are resonating a bit too much. Sides, are we on time? Are we on track? Or do I need to fasten it up or do I need to slow things down? What do you suggest?
We have 30 more minutes, so if we want to leave some time
Okay.
for questions,
All right. All right. Oh, we have 30 more minutes right now.
30
Yeah.
more minutes to the end, yeah.
We're already one hour in. You're saying that?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Time
All
flies,
right.
we're having fun, huh?
Yeah, no, yeah. So yeah, so guys, let's just do some quickly. I just want to cover vocal things because I'm sure a lot of guys would be interested in vocals. So let's just EQ these things and keys. Let's just quickly do what is this thing doing? I think this is good. Maybe remove some of the rumble. And the chorus pad. This is also good. Yeah. In verse pad, I'm hearing a lot of low frequencies. So this I definitely would want to clear. All these frequencies we don't need, right? And this pad's got a really nice shimmer to it. So I'm just gonna add some more high end. And now let's do a quick rundown of vocal chain. So guys, we can do compression and everything on this, but I don't think we need compression. Maybe on the drum bus to glue it. Let's just quickly do it. And what sort of compressor should be used? Let's just use the bus compression. Let's just use SSL comp. And this is a very good bus compressor. It's based on G bus like G1000. And let's just do the drums. With compression, I would always want. Let's do one thing. Instead of using this, I think we should use the stock compressor because I think a lot of people would have that, and we can also clearly see what the compressor would be doing. So for this, I'm gonna be using the VCA. It emulates the same SSL compression sound. So we'll do the auto gain off, auto release, all of this auto off. With bus compression, I would not want anything more than 3 to 4 dB. So right now I can see that the compression is happening around 3-4 dBs gain reduction. The ratio is 2:1, which is fine. You can also do 3:1, but 2:1 is fine. Now the main thing is attack and release. So in terms of the bus compression and especially drum bus compression, I would not want faster attacks because having super fast attack would kill the transient and the punch would be gone. So what do I mean by that? Let's just listen. The punch is gone. Right now it's obviously over compressing, but if I do like sort of 50 millisecond or maybe like 30 millisecond attack, and again we can have faster release times. I always teach how to use compression with visual examples. So right now you can see whenever you are setting compression, you would want the needle to dance with the song. So if you see right now, the needle is sort of dancing with the song, and that's a very good sign to look out for. If the needle is reacting to the song, if I want to exaggerate the effect, you can listen. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but you can just see that the needle is in tune with the song. So that's what you're looking for. We obviously don't need this much amount of gain reduction, as I told, and then we'll apply some makeup gain, which would be 2 dBs in our case because we are getting 2 to 3 dBs. So before compression, it was like this, and after, there's some amount of tightness, additional tightness and gluiness which has come across. If you want to exaggerate the effect, you can probably use the threshold a little bit more. And yeah, that's it for the bus compression. You can follow the similar compression, like, compression principle for individually if you want. But these samples, I don't need they need much compression, because right now a lot of samples that you use from Splice and all of these sites, sample packs and stuff like that, they are already very compressed and very processed, so you don't need that. Sides, do you want me to do a quick vocal chain thing, or do you want me to go on to the
Let's do some question and answers
questions?
because I know a lot of people have questions. So would you
All right, cool.
type everybody type in the chat if you have a question, and we'll try to answer as many of them as possible, but I don't know how many we'll get to. We could do a separate vocal chain like class.
Why not?
We
Yeah,
just do
why
a
not?
whole thing with just vocal
Why
chain.
not? Why not?
So, some questions I see is how do you use the makeup gain?
How do I use the makeup gain? All right. So the thing with makeup gain is, it's a tool that we use to compensate for the amount of gain that we are losing when we are compressing the sound. If you know the basics, and if you know the compression basics, what it means by compression is we are removing the energy after the sound reaches a certain level. So in order to compensate for that energy reduction, we give some gain. So that is the concept of makeup gain. So if I'm doing minus 3 dBs of gain reduction, ideally I should do 3 dBs of makeup gain to compensate for the gain reduction that I'm getting, right? I hope that answers the question.
Um, so somebody asked, oh, where is it at the end? Sorry, I can't see. How do you enable the dynamic EQ feature in Pro Q3?
Oh, all right. Let me show you real quick. So, for example, let's just do, let's just clean it. And for example, this is the thing, this is the band. What you want to do is you want to come here, you see this red, this above the gain, there is this red sort of slider. And if you slide it to the left, there you go. That's how you do the dynamic thing. And if you want to change the Q, if you want to change the Q of that, the like the bandwidth of the band, you can do the Q. I hope that answers your question.
So at the end of the song, the mixing session, do you test the song on different audio systems?
Yes, that is very important, because you obviously people would be listening on different devices. You now there's a limit to that, because you can't test it on all the devices that people are going to listen to, but you can optimize it by listening it on your phone speakers, Bluetooth speakers, maybe some cheap speakers that you've got lying around, obviously on your headphones and your monitors. So yeah, you got to test it out and see where it's going and where it's not working.
What is the most efficient way to create space in your mix?
By using EQ and by using correct EQ.
What is the best / most useful plugins to invest in?
There is this one plugin that I really love. Obviously, it's the Fab Filter Pro Q3. If you want to invest in that, that is like the best the best EQ that you can use, and it's a very good investment. Some other plugins are there's this very good plugin called Gulfos.
Sorry.
There's this very good plugin called Gulfos, and if you have the budgets, just go for this plugin. It's a life changer plugin, and it just does magic to the mix. And you can invest in this. Obviously, you can invest in some Waves plugin like RVox, and LA, if you have some good plugins like 1176 emulations, you can invest in that. UAD has some good emulations. So yeah, it all depends on what you want. So it all depends on that.
Yes, and somebody asked about sending this thing. I will be sending a live replay. You have to watch the replay within 48 hours, but I will get you guys that. Can you show again your EQ on the drum bus, please?
Oh, all right. So this is the drum bus EQ. It's from my preset pack, but to explain it real quickly, what you can do is it is boosting some amount of subs to the drums. It is cutting the lows, not the lows, sorry, the muds. So basically this area. This is where usually the mud and the thumpy sounds are. So it's just cutting that. Again, if you notice, I'm using a lot of dynamic EQing almost on all the tracks. Then it's boosting some presence, and this is like where the focus of the kit is. So it's boosting it, but in an expanding way. It's not compressing, it's expanding. So in this case, what I've done is I've not done this, I've done the reverse. So if it reaches a certain threshold, it's gonna boost it even more. So this is very interesting thing that you can do. And again, same for the high end. This is all again the same case. So yeah, it's just doing very simple things. You can also do it in other EQs as well if you want.
Okay, so um I'm just trying to pick some questions. I only mix in headset because I don't have speakers, but I find it does not translate good from the headset to monitor speakers. Do you have any tips or advice?
Man, I let me tell you my story. So when I started mixing, I was using a very cheap Windows laptop that I bought for my engineering degree, and I was using these Samsung SAMSON SR 850s headsets, and I used them for 2.5 years, 3 years. In fact, I still have them. So the thing is, when you use headsets, the biggest thing that changes it's in terms of if you compare it to the monitor speakers is the stereo space. So in headsets you're getting a very like crystal clear stereo space, but in the monitors the stereo space is very wide, and it's not as wide as the thing you get in the headphones. So if you just know the sound of your headphones, and if you just work a lot on them, then you will have a good idea of how they're translating it to other systems. So my tip would be just use them a lot and just know them inside out, so you know whatever you're doing will and how it translates in the outer world. That'll be my tip.
Do you create a bus for every section of instrument?
Not really. Like for example, these keys, I obviously would create a bus for my drums because I would want to do a drum bus processing. But apart from that, like keys and all, you can just leave them be. If there are multiple pianos doing the same thing, then obviously you can create a bus. So the purpose of the bus is just to make your session optimized, and instead of, for example, uh, if I want to, like for example, EQ this harmony stack, right? I can just remove the bass from all the harmonies just by putting an EQ on the bus. If I want to make the harmonies brighter, I can just do this instead of doing it individually on every single harmony and loading a different plugin. So it's just a way to optimize your session. So you can do it according to the session and according to your needs.
My mixes sound quite different on different sound systems. Do you have any tips to make a mix with a more wholesome sound?
Different on different systems. Again, it's just a lot of trial and error. You gotta first of all, whatever is your main source of reference, you just gotta know your source of reference. So once you know that this is my main source of reference, and if this is sounding like this here, then you will have a very good idea how it's gonna sound on different devices. But obviously you cannot tell exactly how it's gonna work out, but you just gotta know your main source of reference inside out, so that you know how it's translating to the other systems.
Um, So somebody asked, as a beginner, I'm still struggling to find differences before and after applying any changes in plugins, EQ and
Hmm.
compressor. I can answer that one.
Hmm.
So basically,
Okay.
you need to train your ears. And you can either train it as, trying to do extremes, like extreme EQ or extreme compression so you can hear the difference. But then there's also this website that I think is really cool. It's called Sound Gym, and there's like games that you can get like 2 free games a day, I think, or you can buy the program or you can get as many as you want. But basically it trains your ears to with games to hear different EQs and to hear different compressors. But as you do this, your ears will get better, but it's just like anything else, it's a practice. Do you have anything else to add?
I think you answered it pretty well. So the way I used to do it was I used to just do extreme stuff like if I'm not listening, I'll just do this in order to listen, right? If I'm not able to hear compression, I'll just crank the compression, crank the shit out of it, and like do this.
Get out of
So now obviously you can hear the compression and how much it is pumping, right? Apart from this. So this is the very good way to listen what it's doing before and after. Just crank it out and listen, man. It's not that big of a deal.
Okay, is there any advice you can give on phase issues with EQ and overall mixing?
Phase issues. See, the thing is, whenever they do arise, it's first of all, you won't even notice a lot of phase issues that are happening. But if you tend to notice something, what you can always do is you can do the linear phase and you can use linear phase EQing. So if for example, if I'm mastering the session, if I'm doing mastering EQ, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna always use linear phase EQ in the mastering. So this will the purpose of linear phase EQing is to preserve the phase. That's the whole purpose of linear phase EQ. So you can use that, and obviously, in order to prevent major phase issues from happening, stop or panning low frequency sounds and spreading like doubling the bass, and like some people have seen do like pan one kick to the left, one kick to the right. So stop doing all of that, and I'm sure your phase will be preserved.
Okay. Do you prefer cutting EQ or boosting? Well, we do both, right?
We can do both, but I would prefer cutting, like, subtractive EQing more, because again, there's this thing called contrast, and contrast is key. So if you're cutting something, you are obviously boosting something, right? If I'm cutting the bass from the kick, I would feel that I would feel that the highs are being boosted. So that is the thing. So stick to cutting, but if you want to boost, you can boost it using, just a sec. I'll just cut my WhatsApp. So yeah, if you are like, so I would suggest that cutting, if you want to cut, you can cut using EQs, but if you want to boost, you can use specific EQs that are musical. So for example, there's this very famous EQ which is called Pultec EQ, and the plugin that I use is EQ1 PTA, and this is such a nice plugin. It is a very musical EQ, and if you're gonna buy the hardware of this, it's gonna cost you like five grands or 6 grands. So this you can use to boost. So for example, if I wanna boost some shimmer to my drum bass, what I can do is I can put it at 16K, and I can add some shimmer to it. Or if I wanna add some punch to it, I can boost some 60 hertz without with. So if in order to boost it, you can use these EQs, but if you want to cut, you can use FabFilter Pro Q3. That's it.
Any tips to compress bass?
Trips to compress bass. Yes, sure, why not? The basic thing and why we compress is to make the signal even, right? So for example, let me show you. So we can see that the bass is playing these notes, these notes, right? So this note, and this note are at the same level, this note is slightly lower, and then this note is again a lot of energy. So we want to get rid of that, and in order to get rid of that, we can use compression. And the tips to use the compression would again depend on what kind of bass you're using. Is it a live bass? Is it a synth bass? How many like what sort of level imbalances is present in the bass? So it all depends on the scenario. But yeah, the main idea of using compression is to make the signal even. It should not do like weird jumps and weird things. So yeah, that would be my tip.
And so I see a lot of you have asked questions about vocals, but I skipped over those because we can do a whole separate vocal chain class, and I just want to stick to the general mix. So, what's your top 5 advice for any mix engineer, beginner or experienced?
Top five. The first thing is to know your ears and obviously use your ears, because uh, a lot of things. I don't know. Like you can learn all the techniques, but all the techniques you can buy, all the plugins you can you can do anything. But if you don't know how to listen, and if you don't know how to use your ears, then all of these things are useless. So just first spend time with your like your tools, whatever tools you have, and spend time with your ears. Try to make better decision with your ears. That would be the number one tip. The second tip would be not to spend money on unnecessary plugins in order to think that if you buy this plugin you'll get this sound, or this plugin will get you this result. That is just pure bull crap. You can do a lot of things with stock plugins, and you can do a lot of things with stock plugins. The third tip would be to spend time with your whatever plugins you're using. And yeah, I don't know, top five. I think these would be enough.
Yeah, I think those are the main ones. I mean,
Yeah,
I would add some other ones is like be
yeah,
patient
yeah.
with yourself. Like, this isn't gonna
Right.
happen overnight. Like, how long have you been mixing?
Hmm.
How long have you been mixing?
Me,
Yeah,
it's gonna be. I started in 2016. Yeah,
exactly. So it's been a
it's
minute,
been
right?
like
Get to this
8
stage,
years.
and it
Mm-hmm.
takes time. Like, don't think that it's gonna happen overnight. Someone asked, like, "Oh,
Yeah, overnight.
how do you end up getting
Right.
a professional sounding radio ready mix?" Well, those, first of all, the songs you hear on the radio are probably mixed by like 5 different people. They've
Hmm.
spent for the
Right.
vocals, they spend 8 hours a day,
Right.
40 40 hours a week tuning
Right.
the vocals individually, every single note. So
Plus
that's
also they're recording using a probably a $15,000 mic like Sony C800G, something like that. So all of these things
I
also
mean,
come in play.
I don't want people to get overwhelmed with that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it just takes time, and a lot of
Hmm.
people don't want to put in the time that it takes, and they
Yeah.
just want it to
Yeah.
happen overnight. So, be kind to yourself, and it's kind of like, this is how I view my songs. Like, if you go to a pizza place and it's like a really, the pizza comes out like very like professionally made. I don't know, it just looks like professional,
Yeah.
versus like when you're at home and you make your homemade pizza and it doesn't look as like professional as
Right.
you get at the pizza place, but it still tastes good, right? So that's kind
Right.
of how
Right.
I
Right.
view
Right.
my stuff, right? I was just like a homemade song. So
Exactly.
um
Exactly.
okay, and then another tip, I don't know what's the last tip. Oh, I have a last tip. Collab with like other people or other mixing engineers, because you're gonna learn, even though
Hmm.
I've done this basic mix class with like a bunch of different teachers, and every teacher has had a different approach
Yeah.
and a different thing to bring to the table. Everybody has their
Yeah.
own set of ears. So if you really want to get good at mixing, like, work with a bunch of different
Right.
people and say, "Oh, what would you do?" or "What
Right.
do you think?" and "What would you do?" Because you
Right.
might learn something new.
Also, one more tip that I would want to give, final thing to add is don't be afraid to invest in yourself. So what do I mean by that is you can always get a mentor, and you can always invest in yourself, because the thing is on YouTube there is a lot of, like, a lot of knowledge is there, but it's all scattered. So what used to happen to me initially was I was learning from YouTube, so I used to go watch that mix with masters, and then go watch some other channel and some other channel, and it all got scrambled up. So I wasted a lot of time doing that. So in order to avoid that, you can probably find some good mentors like me or like sites or whoever you want to choose, and you can invest some amount of like whatever you want, and you can get a streamlined thing so that you don't waste your time like we did. That will be like my
Um,
last step.
how can we mix sub bass and 808s in a session if they are placed simultaneously, like sub bass and synth and 808 with kick? How do they all get mixed together as it's going to distort the track?
It all depends. So the thing is the essence of mixing is about balancing. So you got to have the balance right, and after that, once the balance is right. So for example, in this case, there were two basses playing. One bass was like playing long notes, and one bass was doing slap thing. So I first of all I did balance them both, and then you can use tools like EQs and compressors to make them sit in their own space and make them not fight each other. That would be it. That would be it.
Um, Okay, I'm just trying to see if I answered everyone I skipped over the questions that have to do with master and vocals just because that's a whole conversation. Those can be individual classes on themselves. But does anyone else have any basic mixed questions that I didn't answer yet or I missed in the chat? You can just type them in the chat. I'm just scrolling back to see if there's anything else. Oh yes, reference tracks are helpful too. Someone says remember to reference your former tracks. Um, tracks are
No, they're very good. If you so first of all, a solid reference would what would that do is that'll give you a very good direction that you can follow, and then that you can achieve. So without reference, sometimes we feel lost. So I use references, and for the clients that I work with professionally, I really appreciate if they send me and I ask for reference tracks that I can follow for their own mix. So they're like a very good guide that you can follow to get in the right direction.
um does anyone else have any other questions about okay, so how do you convert a stereo track to mono in Logic?
It's very simple. So, for example, this is a stereo track, and you see here, you see two circles overlapping. You can just click them, and now it's a mono track. There's just one circle, and then if you click again, it's a single track. It's a stereo track. You can also see the fader, the meter in terms of the fader. If I do it mono, there is only one signal which is playing. For some reason, it's playing two, but yeah, like in a
You
pure
can
mono
also if
track.
it doesn't work, you can also bounce. So you
Yeah, you can bounce it out and do it in
yeah,
mono.
yeah. So when you bounce it, you just do control B and then you just say don't you unclick you don't
Hmm.
click the thing. Can you show them? Just press control B.
Yeah. One sec.
Um no,
Not this
control
side.
B.
Control B. Yeah.
And then okay,
Yeah.
here it says include volume pan automation. Uncheck that and then
Yeah.
it should do it and you don't have to do the whole thing, but just
Okay.
so you know
Okay.
that's how you guys will
Yeah.
be able to do it without
Right.
doing
Right.
it sides.
But for example, like this is a closed head track. It's doing stereo thing right now.
to my bed.
You can just do this. For some reason, it's not working. Maybe it's a glitch. Yeah, but you can bounce it out as well. Right.
Um, is there a reason for using audio instead of MIDI other than CPU performance?
Um, See, the thing with audio is you can really be flexible and you can really be creative with audio, and also it allows you to commit to whatever you have done, so you won't be wasting time and like going back, changing things. You just commit to it, and you like whatever you've done, you commit to it and you move on. That'll be like a very good thing for your own like mental health when you're working with music, because most of the times we go back and we just get confused like, oh, I want to change this MIDI. So if you have bounced it out and you've flattened that, you're like that mental energy is not occupied, so you can
Um,
just move ahead. That'll be
yeah,
the only
and to convert
advantage.
audio to MIDI, you can either there's multiple ways to do it. I I think the best way is to just export everything, like select all of your tracks and do
Hmm.
Command E, export all of your tracks, and
Right.
then open up a new project where you could have like just a mixing project. So you have
Yeah.
your project for just producing,
Right.
and then you have your project
Production.
for mixing. But if you want to just bounce anything, you can press Control B to bounce
Yeah,
just an individual track like that. But if you want to do
right.
the whole track, then you do
Yeah.
Control Command B, and then that's how you could bounce it. Um. Okay. So I didn't answer any of the questions about mastering because again, that's like could be like a whole class. Vocal
Yeah,
and
yeah.
mastering is just too much and I don't want to overwhelm people. So we're not talking about mastering today. If we use high quality samples and our track already sounds good, should we still mix each and every sample or can we skip some of them to keep the track's originality?
You can definitely skip some of the tracks if you have really used the samples that you want, and if they're high quality, and if they sound good. Again, just trust your ears. If they sound good, you don't really need to do anything. In fact, one of the best songs, like the best songs that I've mixed in my career, I didn't need to do much. Basically, some amount of level balancing, some amount of compression, and it's done. Then I just sent it off to mastering engineer or did the master myself. So it's all about selecting your right sounds. That's very important.
When it comes to bass and kick, should they be in mono or stereo? I was also confused by that because I always thought
Bass and kick, right? So the thing is, kick should always be in mono. Kick cannot be in stereo. The bass can be in stereo, but again, it depends on the case. So for example, if you want to sometimes like we mix trap and hip hop, and we use a lot of synth basses and 808s. What really makes 808 pop out is if we use a little amount of stereo widening on it. uh, for example, if this one is a mono bass, what I can do is there is this plugin that I use and it is called Magic Stereo. And now if you listen, see, this is the exaggerated thing. This will make your bass messy, cause phase issues and stuff like that. But what you can do is you can do this. Slightly spread it so that it's not overwhelming, but it's again the bass, the whole floor is being taken care of. So instead of the bass coming from right from the center, it's coming from the whole floor to a specific point, right? Without, with. So it's just giving a slight sort of thing. So yeah, again, it depends on the song, and again, you have to use your ears. If it doesn't sound right, then don't do it.
Um, are there any shortcuts to copy bus sends from one track to another? So,
Yeah, there you can just select, save. You can copy, copy channel strip settings, and then whatever bus you want to, you can paste either the plugins or paste the sends or paste the whole channel strip.
um, someone says what takes more time, mixing or mastering?
That is a very subjective thing. Like you can spend 100 hours on your on mix, and you can also do the same mix in like couple of hours. So it just depends on your level. It's like I don't think it's a good question to ask. Like
Yeah.
what takes more
Is it possible to use
time?
animation panning on the samples sounds effects?
It is it possible to use what?
Animation panning on the sample?
Animation. I think they meant automation panning or something like that. But yeah, we haven't covered automation. Maybe we can, like, once we do the advanced mixing class in future, we can cover that.
Um, okay. I think we answered most of
A
the
lot of
questions.
questions. Yeah.
Um, let me see if I can find one more. Atul, I don't know which one your question was. I think you asked if I didn't answer your question, it was probably because it was about mastering or about vocal chains, which I mentioned that.
What is this link going on? Okay, this is people are filling some things.
Okay. Um, okay. I think we answered most of the questions. I'm sorry if I didn't get to your question. Oh, what are good settings when bouncing in Logic?
Bouncing in Logic, what do you mean? Like bouncing the whole track? What you can do is
Yeah.
you can what I do is I do 48 and 24 bit. That is like my staple. Some guys need 44 16. But yeah, you can do 44, 48, 24, and yeah, that's it. Just turn off the normalize, don't turn it on. And for MP3, you can obviously use 320 kbps. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, let me just see. All right. Well, this class was sponsored by Boombox. So if you haven't already, you should check them out. It's a really great way to share files and collaborate with people back and forth. And I thought they would be here today to do a presentation, but I don't see them here. So if you've seen my other classes and you've seen the presentation before, but we'll be doing more classes. So thank you guys so much for coming here. I really hope this was helpful. And if you liked it, like, please send one of us a message of reviews or anything like that.
Definitely. If you all want to take a picture right now, you can
Yeah,
post it on tag us,
let's
social
stop
media
share,
sites.
maybe.
Can we, yeah, can we do a big like where we
So
can see everyone and like,
if you guys want to
yeah,
turn your camera
something like
on
that.
to be in the picture, we'll do a group shot. I don't always do this in my classes because I
Yeah.
always forget. But let's see. So
Not
if
how
you
many
want to
people
be
are
in the
there?
picture, hold on, let me make this full screen. Where am I? Oh, I'm there. Okay. Ready? Cameras on? Ready? Almost filled. We need a couple more boxes. Come on, you guys can do it. Cameras on.
Yeah.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Yay! And if you guys want to take some, you guys can take some. We're all
Yeah, you can tag us and then yeah, you can tag whatever.
but